Hi everyone, thank you for joining us on this webinar to discuss and understand a little bit more about NetSuite and specifically its latest derivatives of Suite Success. In terms of today's agenda, doing a short introduction followed by the differences and key components of NetSuite and Suite Success and the ever important product demonstration, and then we'll be opening up for questions. Now, a little bit of housekeeping. If you can all pop any of your amazing questions into the chat window for the tool, we will try and get to as many of those questions as we can towards the end of the discussion, time dependent. If we run out of time, I will make an effort to come back to each and every single one of you on a one-on-one basis to answer those questions, really just to sort of make sure that you're comfortable and happy. Your team, well, it's me today. I'm sort of lone wolfing it today on the NetSuite side. A bit of background about myself is roughly 20 years of experience in various customer-facing roles around the world. Been lucky to work in a number of countries in my past. Really what gets me out of bed in the morning is customer intimacy and developing lasting relationships with clients. I'm really quite focused on developing strategic relationships and looking for efficiency gains and improvements in my customers' business practices. I suppose the summary to that is I really like to make everyone's day a little easier. Always been a big fan of lifelong learning, and I'm currently studying a bachelor's degree in psychology to have a better understanding of people and their behaviors within a commercial environment. So let's take a look at some big numbers from a big company. We can see that NetSuite is specifically Oracle is truly a global organization. These numbers speak for themselves. This solution is sold virtually around the world. This is great for international businesses as well as players who only really feature in the ANZ market. Having the backing of a global company is never a bad thing. Really sort of strong footprint in the marketplace. Let's go a little bit deeper into what makes NetSuite. So at its structure, first and foremost, is NetSuite is built in and born in the cloud. It's been designed to address an entire business. Too often in this industry, we see a lot of companies build a solution for a specific leg of the business and so expand from that. That has not been the case with Oracle and NetSuite. It has been built to encompass as many areas of business as is possible. Some of the virtues of a cloud-based technology is it is a real cloud solution, so access using any device, anytime, anywhere. It's consumer orientated, so it's very easy to pick up and use without extensive training, which is great. It's always fit for purpose and always up to date. Key component to understand here is that NetSuite is built on a single data source, what they refer to as their unified data model. And it's really the key to being able to enable the BI functions in the way that companies need it today. This unified data model really delivers it's unrivaled analytical capabilities from day one. It allows customers to define who is able to view, analyze, and transact and across different areas of the organization. We also know that the solution is able to handle the difficult task of going global with multi-book, multi-language, multi-currency with their One World solution, and obviously is tax compliant in all of the areas that it is sold. I will say that One World is an absolute game changer if you are running multiple organizations in multiple jurisdictions. In my time in this industry, I've yet to come across a solution that is as profound in running these organizations. Last but not least, it's important to understand that NetSuite is, I suppose, kind of a brand. There are lots of different editions, so it is built specifically for different industries. They have been very clever in bringing out different editions for different verticals with relevant information, KPIs, screens, roles, and so on. I will go into that a little bit deeper when we do the demo. So let's have a look at Suite Success. To be overly simplistic about it, NetSuite have essentially taken their 20 plus years of history and the data and learnings from that data and built industry specific editions of NetSuite. The goal is to be the best of breed for those industries. Suite Success is about, it's about a lot of things, but it's also about rapid implementations and an almost immediate ROI. Now, that's really important. Too often we see ERP implementations where the first time you really get to start developing a really good ROI on that investment is, 6, 12 months, 18 months down the line. Suite Success has been designed to really engage and be consumed at a very, very early stage in the process with out-of-the-box reporting and business intelligence tools from day one. So as an organization, you make the decision to evolve your landscape, and virtually from day one of going live, you're getting really, really good insights. The focus for Suite Success is to leverage what NetSuite know about those verticals and to put a lot of that into the product. So there is quite a lot of engaging with customers, allowing them to consume the product, optimizing the product to suit them, and then restarting that cycle again and again. So there's these incremental gains. So let's take a look at how NetSuite would go about doing that. A good way to think about this is really a phased approach. NetSuite would start, as I say, using what their learnings from thousands of successful implementations. They have, for example, a deep understanding of the wholesale and distribution industry and what it takes to be a leading edge practice within that field. They will, through the software, encourage you to adapt your business process to match those leading edge practices, essentially challenging the, oh, we've always done it this way, sort of status quo. I suppose that's testament to how big they are as a global player. They have oodles and oodles of data that they can leverage to make sure that the process from start to finish, for example, receiving a customer's order through to invoicing and recovering the cash from the customer, is streamlined, leading edge, best of breed kind of practice. And there will be some learning curve for you and your organization to adapt these new processes, but man, it's an absolute game changer. So they focus quite heavily on a stairway model. This is an example of one of many stairways, depending on the specific vertical. Really, round one is sort of establishing the solution, getting the basics right, so that the organization can continue to operate unimpeded. And from that point on, really sort of starting to build on that foundation to elevate the solution. These are bringing in some additional functions that ordinarily, you certainly wouldn't want to look at it on a day one go live, and expand, accelerate, dominate. And you can sort of see as we move towards the dominate, we're getting into some pretty cool stuff like Internet of Things and business AI and so on. Now, not everybody wants those things on day one. It is really a paced stairway and evolution process. The great thing about this is this can be done as quickly or as slowly as the business has the appetite to do. Let's take a little bit of a deeper look at the breadth of the solution. Gosh, just purely from a financials point of view, you can see we've pretty much got, well, we've got a general ledger, so that's always good. We've got all the basics covered. We've got some nice to haves as well. It's really quite comprehensive with multiple currency support, global compliance. There's a lot of value straight off the bat. Moving away from financials, the ERP environment is incredibly rich. It encompasses a great many areas of the business. So really the goal is to keep as much of your business activity inside the one solution as possible. So there's very little need for third-party applications, integrations, and so on. And again, always leveraging that best of breed leading edge practice. Now, interestingly enough, this concept of out of the box and having a lot of stuff pre-configured means there's some huge benefits from an implementation point of view. We can see that a more traditional approach for conventional ERP it's intensive. It takes time, and time is unfortunately has a financial burden for the business. We can see implementation fatigue. We can see generic software that's not really specialized for your particular vertical. Now, the Suite Success approach is vastly different. There's an encouragement for you to align your processes with leading practices. Out of the box, we're looking at 250 plus pre-built reports, dashboards. And I will go into this a little bit more depth with the demo, where we'll actually show you how these different roles and dashboards look. But, one can appreciate a sales manager is going to want to see something very different from, say, a financial controller. All of that is built into the solution and ready to go from day one without, your consultant needing to build that for you. So what does that actually mean for you is the time to value. It's insanely quick. We have seen increased adoption from the users in the system. It's far lower risk and lower cost to you through that implementation phase. We really do see these implementations being done quite quickly and minimal disruption to you and your business. The next slide is an example of one of the many assets that ensure that success. There's this success guarantee to make sure that the implementation is done effectively and quickly. And a key component is the movement of information between your implementer and your team. So as you can see on the left-hand side, we've got these different lanes of different business activities. And I cannot stress this enough. This is one example of a wholesale distribution business, but different verticals would have different metrics that are important to them. And it's quite important for us to use the red dots to understand where your organization is currently. The green dots we would slide over to where you want to go. And what this basically means is that we're sitting with every stakeholder in the organization, and we're making sure that we deliver value to them in a very quick way. The goal here is to slowly move into the transformative area as and when the business needs it. So it's really important for us that there is a plan and that there is a clear expectation of what is going to be achieved by all the stakeholders. I suppose that's all great information, but really, much like when you're buying a car, you need to test drive the car to understand what it's all about. So I'm going to quickly switch screens and jump into a demo system, and we can have a little chat about that. Right, so let's take a look at the actual product. Now, before we begin, and as we've touched on before, it's important to remember that there are a number of editions. And obviously, in a limited time webinar such as this, we won't be going through all of them. So we've chosen to focus on the Wholesale and Distribution edition for medium-sized organizations. The purpose of this is, I suppose, just to give you a feel for the solution and how you will realize value from day one. I hope that this sparks interest, and if it does, I would be grateful to do another demo that's probably more personal and tailored to your individual needs. So please, I suppose, bear with us as this demo is very high level and generic in its nature, and it's really been done that way to appeal to as wide an audience as possible. Our agenda will be focusing on the roles that we've spoken about, dashboards, reporting, and I suppose just how easy it is to actually navigate and use this tool. So let's begin. As you know, it is a cloud-based ERP system, and you can access this from any browser. So at the moment, I have a Google Chrome browser open, and all I need is a log-on email address and a password. The email address is effectively your username, and your username is just the preferred email address that you would nominate at time of order. Let's log in. Right. So once you've logged into your account, one of the first things you will see in the top right-hand corner is a role. So at the moment, I'm logged in as James, who is the senior executive for this organization. Let me expand this out for a second. So why am I showing you this? Well, you can see all the roles and companies that are linked to the email account that I've logged in as a user. Obviously, I've quite a lot switched on because this is a demo account that gets quite a lot of use. Naturally, your system would be more specific and related to your organization's requirements. The great thing with this is that you can really switch between several roles. A lot of people don't just have one function within a company. A good example of this is a sales manager that manages a team of salespeople, but also sells themselves. So you could see how there would be a situation where there could potentially be many hats worn in the organization. The great thing is because this is all within the same browser, there's really no need to have different systems and different virtual systems that you need to run. You can quite literally change your focus of your day with a single click. So for the sake of time, I'm only going to be focusing on a few roles only, but I cannot stress that if this interests you, we would definitely be excited to do a deeper demo around your specific needs. One of the great things about these demos is we often encourage our prospects to choose 3 or 4 things that are really important to them, and then we try and incorporate that into the demo to make it a bit more personal and a bit more real to you. So let's choose a function today. Let's take a look at a wholesale and distribution sales role. Right, now we've gone back to the main dashboard. I'd like to spend a little bit of time talking about the concept of dashboards in a bit more detail. So what is a dashboard? Well, NetSuite have this concept of dashboards as being visual workspaces, and they contain portlets. All of these little areas here are what we call portlets that contain information, and really these portlets, they pull in real-time information that allows you to make data-based decisions. So all of this is connected, and any user around the world, as they're updating their various pieces of work, the data that you're seeing here will constantly refresh. There's no manual process that needs to take place. All of these portlets are pre-configured as part of the immediate return on investment that is part of the Suite Success strategy. You'll recall we spoke about how from your day one go live, there is usable intelligence in the tool, and this is a great example. What you see is what you get on day one. And all of these KPIs and meters and measurables are really based on NetSuite's leading practices philosophy. So again, you'll recall that they've looked at thousands and thousands of implementations and really distilled down what is important for those organizations to see. And rather than having to create those in each and every implementation, they've kind of pre-bundled that into the product, so there's a real return on investment very quick and a much faster implementation. So now, while we are obviously referring to all of these pre-built portlets, it is important to know that, well, you have the power to change them. So you can make this desktop or this dashboard more meaningful to you, and that is on a user level. The way to explain that is if we have 2 sales users, their day one dashboards would look incredibly similar, but their day 30, 60, 90, whatever time frame, that they have the ability to personalize that dashboard, set their preferences, and make it really quite a lot more meaningful to them. So let's take a little bit of a browse through this dashboard and get a little bit comfortable with the workspace. At the top, we've got a search bar, which kind of says what it is. It's a global search through all of NetSuite. Down here we have a menu bar. This will change depending on the role profile that we're in. Over here we have some quick access buttons, which we'll come and spend a little bit more time in. We have a help menu. Let's have a quick look at that. This is particularly powerful. Yes, we do spend quite a bit of time in the implementation phase training people and making sure that they're entirely comfortable and feel well supported. But as you recruit new people in the organization, and maybe people's roles shift, and let's be honest, people start sort of forgetting training, there is quite a comprehensive help center that is, again, searchable with videos, quite a serious component of self-learning that you can adopt, which is great for keeping costs low. Let's take a look at something that I find particularly powerful. This is reminders pane. Really, the reminders is all about letting you know what your tasks are that are needing to be done. Over here we have some navigation tiles. Navigation tiles are essentially shortcuts to functions that this role might do on a regular basis. We have access to KPIs and reports that allow you to make informed decisions and keep real-time accurate information at your fingertips. Basically, your dashboard is the starting point of your day's work and the ending point of your day's work. Quite a lot of your activity is going to rotate around the dashboard. And the reason that I'm sort of harping on about this, and it's so important, and if you'll allow me to put my inner geek hat on, the reason that dashboards are critical is it really gives you an understanding of the unified data model. So you're able to see your data real time rather than having to open multiple spreadsheets. Again, in a sales role, most salespeople, when they need to look at inventory that's available to sell or KPIs, this can be, different CRM tools. It can be an inventory tool. It can be hundreds of Excel spreadsheets that we've all got floating around. And this concept of this unified data model on the single page, it really is quite a powerful sort of tool. So that's a traditional sales dashboard. I suppose let's change gears and take a look from a financial perspective. So again, we're just going to have a look at a different role. Right, so now we can see that the data is totally different. So, but the look and feel is remarkably similar. We still have, the same sort of page structure. You can see now that the file menu structure up here is a little bit different. We still have some familiarity. We've got reminders of work that needs to be done. We've got our tiles, we've got our KPIs, and really, gosh, we can sort of play around and visualize this data any way we choose. But what is interesting is while the data is totally different and the information being presented is different, the look and feel is very similar. And that's important. What we want is a system that's easy to adopt across the entire organization. And to make sure that skills can be transferred among staff, there needs to be this similarity in the dashboards. And we must acknowledge that the information needs to be different, but the look and feel needs to be the same. So let's switch back to the sales role, and I'll dob all my fellow salespeople in. So as a salesperson myself, I can tell you that one of the best tools I have up my sleeve is a good CRM. But it's also a bit of a hindrance sometimes. We all know that having a CRM is a wonderful tool for the organization, but generally speaking, it's one of the areas that salespeople tend to not use effectively. I know most of us, certainly me, I find CRMs, if they're clunky, to be quite a burden, can sometimes take up too much of my time. And I'd rather be out there selling. But the truth is that they're actually immensely valuable. And if the CRM tool is quick and easy to use, then we've seen from benchmarking that adoption rates are much higher. And that's a win-win because there's some gold in a CRM for salespeople, and there's certainly a lot of value for the organization. NetSuite CRM tool, is particularly easy to use, and it delivers really great tools to salespeople, and I suppose that makes it far more valuable. And a good example of that is this beautiful little innocuous button here, this little shortcut button, which is really, really easy to do quick on the fly sales activities. Should I be interested in creating a lead? I just need to really sort of pop that open, and let's take a look at a basic lead form. Now, this is one of many templates. You can see there is the ability to create an infinite number of them, but it's really totally customizable around what information is important to you as an organization. And you as the admin user for your own site have the ability to generate these forms, as well as mark certain fields mandatory, thus creating a bit of corporate discipline to ensure that your sales teams follow the process and deliver that information that you need. Let's play around with the search function and take a look at a customer. So this is just a general customer that we've put into the system. All right, so let's have a look at Woolworths. You're all familiar with Woolworths. I'd like to show you something quite powerful actually, and that's down here in the communication tab. Now, bearing in mind that this is a demo system, so there might not be too much data in here, but enough to get a feel for it. The communication tab is quite powerful for logging all activity related to a client. I know that from a sales perspective, I'm very, very interested in exceeding my own targets that our organization has tasked me with. So I'm constantly looking for efficiencies. I'm really looking hard for how can I take 100 leads and improve my close ratio? How can I get great results with as efficient a process as possible? And having these tools like these communication fields within the CRM really means that we have the ability to measure the input and balance that against the outputs. So I suppose the golden goose is to have as minimal input as possible with the maximum output, and I think that's true of every sales organization. The other area that is pretty cool is this customer 360. As you can guess, 360 degrees in a circle. What we're essentially saying is it's a holistic view of everything related to this customer. This concept of 360 appears in all the areas of the business, including inventory, warehouse, etc. And it just shows you that at a total view of what's going on with this customer right now. So two orders, one fulfillment, one invoice, year-to-date sales, etc. And we've got this. That's just a basic scorecard. We can even go deeper in and we can see, open sales orders, what are their top sold items, etc. And you'll notice that everything is entirely drillable, and you can just sort of at a single click go into any of those functions and see what those documents are. So there's a sales order that's pending fulfillment, and again we can see this concept of linked information all throughout the system, and really once again this is that concept of the unified data model, showing us its power. So let's change focus a little bit. Let's have a look at an inventory from an inventory perspective. So let's log in as an inventory manager. Once again, we can see that there are subtle differences in the menu structure. The data being represented is different, but the look and feel is very, very similar. Once again, we have a reminders tab showing us work that needs to be done. What is pretty cool is these little colored bars here can be coded to match certain metrics. So if 2 to 5 orders is orange, but anything more than 6 is red flagged as being high priority work to be done, so you can manage your inputs of your teams. Moving down, we can see inventory values, we can see some KPIs, we can see inventory available to sell, top inventory items, and again all of these are editable. We can present this data in different ways, and if we hover over things we get more information, and should we click we'd be able to go in and see more details around that. And we can also see trend analysis. Now this is particularly powerful. So my background is in logistics and supply chain, and I can honestly tell you that inventory is probably one of the highest expenses that a business has, and often we see a lot of companies tying a lot of money into inventory, a ridiculous amount of money. And interestingly enough, NetSuite released some benchmarking statistics to show us that companies that have migrated to NetSuite in the past generally can expect anywhere between a 10 to 30% improvement in inventory values. I'm going to stop there because that's huge. If you're carrying $1 million worth of inventory, even at a conservative pinch, if you're able to improve your supply chain to the tune of 10%, that's $100,000 worth of cash that does not need to be tied into inventory whilst still servicing your customers to the same effectiveness. NetSuite has this ability to measure supplier performance, track lead times, slow-moving inventory, seasonal inventory, and all of that is available out of the box. So if you can be a lot smarter about your inventory, the return on investment on the bottom line is astounding. And really what we need to do is change the conversation from the expense of an ERP and look at the investment and the return from an ERP perspective. Let's take a quick look and click on an inventory item and see what we can see. So again, we have a total view of everything related to this item, including images which can be linked to e-commerce platforms. Again, we've got this concept of item 360. So we can see a total holistic view of everything going on with this particular product. We can really go quite deep here. There's some analytics with supply chain snapshots. It's quite a comprehensive view from an inventory management point of view. What is particularly powerful here is at no point have we needed to go into a separate system. It's simply a case of right click and pop open into a new browser without needing to log in somewhere else. Right, let's do another gear shift and let's have a look at from a financial management point of view. Again, we're seeing some continuity here. We're seeing a similar look and feel, but different data. If any of you are running multiple organizations, and these can be in different jurisdictions around the world, NetSuite truly is a global solution, and I could probably fill up an entire webinar just talking about the value of NetSuite in one world and international organizations, and I'm happy to do that if that defines your business. But we have these subsidiary navigator views, and I'll just show you how easy this actually is to personalize. And that's it. 5 or 6 clicks and we've added a whole new view to our dashboard, and that really is the versatility and the ease of use of NetSuite showing its strength. Let's talk about reports. I get asked this question a lot. What reports are included in the product? And well, the short answer is more than you can shake a stick at. NetSuite comes pre-configured with more reports than I've ever seen native in a product. And if you, on the off chance you are able to come up with a crazy report that's not standard, you have that power to create those reports yourself. The sky really is the limit here. I suppose, looking at the clock, I need to get on now with time, but I'd just like to take a moment to remind everyone that really we've only scratched the surface today. NetSuite really is designed to be an end-to-end solution. It's meant to manage an entire organization with absolute cutting-edge technology, and they're constantly improving and growing. So it's highly scalable. It's entirely future-proof. There's an addition for the smaller organization space. The mom and pop businesses that have outgrown Xero, right through to the giant multinationals taking over the world. And I really wish we had more time to go into it in even more detail, but I'm really hoping that you've seen enough to create some interest and you see some value in a second discussion. And would really like to have a separate conversation with you around what is important to you, and building a demo that makes a bit more sense and meaning to you on a personal level. So with that, thank you for watching this, I suppose, movie trailer highlight reel. And I am aware that we have run out of time. I suppose that's the downside of trying to fit quite a comprehensive solution in a very small time slot. So I will make an effort to come back to each of you individually with these questions that have come through. I hope today has been informative for all of you, and I want to thank you for making the time to spend with me today. Thank you.